will come together, and while they make their way, they've got about 10 kilometers to the next sprint. We do actually have a video here, a bit of a coach's corner, a tip from the 5th place in the female Esport World Championship, Liz Van Houweling. She's got something to say about sprinting.
Hi, my name is Liz Van Houweling, and I am a cycling coach of the Des Moines, Iowa area. And on this Coach's Corner, we are going to be talking about sprinting. Sprinting is super critical if you want to have success on Zwift. So many of the races tend to finish in pretty big fun sprints, so we could all stand to improve our sprint a little bit. So a lot of times people think people with the biggest 10 to 15 second swap per kilo numbers are going to win every race, and a lot of times they do. But I would also not underestimate the importance of that 1 minute challenge. A lot of times the last kilometer or so of the race can get pretty spicy, so being able to survive that, to hang in there, and put yourself in a good position to be able to unleash that big 10-second sprint is really important. So one of my favorite ways to work on 1 minute power is to head over to Innsbruck on the leg snapper climb and do repeats of that. So you start off with just 2 or 3 repeats with pretty good recovery. You can even do the whole Innsbrucking short lap there. And just every time you hit that climb, go all out, all the way up it, and recover and do it again. And work your way up to 4 or 5, even 6 repeats with 4 or 5 minutes recovery. Work your way through the just go up it as hard as you can, quickly turn, squeeze back down, recover a minute, and turn around and do it again and again. And try to work so that you can eventually stand up for the entire duration of that climb. It's not that long, and a lot of times people find it easier to produce higher power in standing position. So just working on your extended standing climbing like that, it should help translate into a more powerful sprint as well. So I hope you can use these tips to help you get a much improved sprint and have better finishing positions in your races. And I look forward to seeing you out on the virtual roads of Utopia. Thank you.
So that was some good tips there from Liz Van Houweling. She obviously is performing very well in the esport world, coming 5th at the World Champs recently around the New York course. You can see her racing in the Premier Division for Saris Nopens. Looks as though the Aero team has got a concerted strategy here. Harvey here attacking off the front. He's got 4 seconds on Mitch Zito from the Ink Battlers, and the Chase Pack just 4 seconds behind. So he's not really getting a whole lot of traction here, but it looks as though they're throwing out these sort of 1-2 punches in this course. And looking at what's happening in the women's race, all still together. So they are still just kind of, I would say the pace has definitely come off. They're kind of relaxing in the pack at the moment. Not sort of not burning too many matches after that really tricky part with those first 2 sprints and the climb. They can kind of relax now a little bit till the 17K mark, but also maybe this is a good place to attack. I'm not sure. It could be a good place when you are sort of the pace has come off the group. You know, they're riding here at around 2.8 watts per kg, and it does sound like we've got Katie back, so we don't have to hear my voice blabbing away. We've had a couple more attacks from Aero, so your team out there is representing proud. They've just had their second attacker brought in, so I'm wondering who's going to go next.
Well, I apologise for my little tech delay. It appears my Mac has decided to just die, pretty much, so that's fun. It's always fun. Let's hope the rider's legs don't die in the same way that my computer has. So, Aero, I think when I decided to cut out, I was just saying that Aero are all such a formidable force. There's a lot that can be respected about the way they race, because win or lose, they're not left wondering, and nobody is left wondering about their style of race. But we are starting to get some other teams that mimic that style and make it pretty hard across the board for everybody. NZ Bro is another team who could be in a really good position for that, and it is still a big bunch, but there's quite a few that have dropped off already, Anna, so it's whittling down.
Yeah, this pack has gone down quite a lot with those attacks, and there was, I think you might have missed the huge attack from your mate Mark O'Brien up the climb that actually had no points on offer. He just sort of went for this big run up the climb, and this has really strung it out. We've already, as we've been chatting, he looks like he's off the front again. Mark O'Brien with another World Elite Zwifter, not the same one as before, but Tabalong. He has had enough of all these attacks off the front. He just wants to get on. This is a great time to attack, actually, because as I was saying while we were watching Liz Van Houweling's video on sprint technique as they're heading into their sprint at 17K, it's basically 10 kilometres of sort of nothing at the moment. It's just riding. So it could be good to attack when the pace comes off. I mean, you've had a lot to do with the Paris-Roubaix Fem that's gone on over the weekend. I want to ask you about timing. So, Elisa Longo-Borghini, how much of it is just impeccable timing, and how much of it is good teamwork, having other teammates in the chase, and how much of it is just the strength of you as a rider?
Good question. I think that on the one hand, Trek had a tremendous day, didn't they? With 3 of them up there, but they also had a bit of a ball down from Balsamo, where she got disqualified for a sticky bidden. So it was a bit of a mixed day of fortunes for them. I think when we're looking at Longo-Borghini, it was very much about timing. And I say that because she hasn't had a tremendous season, and she has been getting better, but there's been a lot of races just been an absolute sufferfest from go to woe. And in those cases, she hasn't done particularly well. What she did here was exceptionally good position and being able to look after herself a little bit, and then just perfect timing. But there were a couple of times where she looked over her shoulder, got out of her seat again, in very much in a way to me that was like, if this doesn't work, I'm done. So I'm giving it absolutely everything I have, and let's see what happens. And sometimes that kind of attitude can be really helpful in racing, you know, when you go in, and you often see it from the riders who are top tier but aren't having the best time, because there's not a lot of pressure on them. And so they're not looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, I can't afford to take a risk here. They're more like, you know what, I back myself, I'm capable of this, it hasn't been going well, I've got nothing to lose, let's see what happens. And that's what Longo-Borghini did. A little bit of Roubaix here with Onto the Dirt, Anna. There's no bike changes to be seen, I might add. But Tabalong's still the one really pushing the pace. If he and Mark O'Brien, and Ed Morgan's up there too, can keep this going, it's a pretty dangerous break.
This is dangerous.
The question then becomes, who's going to chase it?
And look at this, you've got people already chasing from this pack. So the pack is, you know, back here. People are bursting off the front because they've realised the kind of danger, because this is great tactics. This is sort of a bit of a split pack. You've got this group here, then 5 seconds up the road, you've got a little crew of, let me get up there, Endo, from this the ZWC team, and then they've sort of joined up now. So this is quite the group off the front. If they all work together, you've got an NZ Bro rider, you've got DPAT, you've got World Elite Zwifters, you've got a Team Aero. Is anyone missing from this group? Because anyone missing, they should be drilling it off the front of the other group. 6 seconds now back. You can see the orange numbers coming up from Muzz there, and NZ Bro Frodo. They're getting a little bit nervous because I actually don't think it's NZ Bro Frodo crew here. That's why they'll be pushing up. And look at this, just riders coming up, 1s and 2s, breaking away from that group. This is awesome to see.
It is. It's very cool, and because they do know that it's danger, and you can actually think a lot about watching something like Paris-Roubaix and the tactics that happen, and apply them to racing across the board. And what we saw the other night with the break going early, led by Ineos, where a lot of the big riders were missing, some of them made it back, some of them didn't make it back, and some of them made it back but were so fried from making it back that they weren't able to do in the race what was expected. And that's the same for any race. So if a really big break like this goes, they may make it back, absolutely, but they may be so fried by the time they do make it back that they're not able to really keep racing. Tabalong is just aggressive. Very determined today, isn't he?
Oh, who are we going to give this 5K award? I mean, I was going to say Mark O'Brien just for his efforts up the climb, but then I'm looking at Tabalong as well with these monster attacks. And then he's been joined here by Danny's. NZ Bro seems to have new riders every week from a whole raft of different countries. But these riders are who I'm looking at. See these riders with the disc wheels? They could be doing bike swaps, and they were maybe trying to get away from these other riders just because a disc is going to be very slow up that dirt climb. If anyone's on a Tron, I think those Tron riders know to be bike swapping. Anyone on a disc, I think, will do it. What they could be doing is going for those initial sprints, go for a bike swap, go for fastest time segment up the dirt climb, and then maybe that's their day done for the team.
Well, how long is the dirt segment? What's how many minutes is it? What are we talking in seconds? I feel like you've got this on your whiteboard.
Yeah, maybe for the men about, I'd say almost 4 to 5 minutes. It's a fairly long climb. I'd put it sort of shorter than the Volcano, but longer than the Hilly Reverse in Watopia, so sort of in that mid-range, if that's specific enough. Or I've got a kick off the front. We will come back to the women's race as well. Looks like Mark Bosted is going off the front. He's on a disc wheel, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is maybe going to try and attempt a bike swap early for him. Going for the sprint. Is he going to get caught on the line here by Tabalong, the NZ Bro rider, who's probably devastated the compatriot is racing for an Australian team? Morgan here from Deepak coming up behind, and it looks like, is it Mark Bosted? The rider who I always used to think wasn't a great sprinter. Look at him go now.
Well, now that he's under, some Aussie guard, is that what you're talking about,
Yeah,
Anna? Now that he's got a little bit of Aussie mentorship. I actually don't think anybody takes it quite as hard as you do when it comes to his semi-defection.
I've got to have it as a bit of banter, right? He has to email me afterwards like he did last week saying, these are the reasons why, and I love the team. Lucy taking that out over Georgia again with Alexander there. Probably a good time to bring in some of the segment points that we have from the women's race. Lucy Esdale, she is smoking us, and she has told me she is doing a bike swap. But looking at her now with these points, I just don't... Oh, she is on the disc wheel, so I think she could do that bike swap. Miller there coming through in second with 36 points. Wow, Lucy has done very well, though. I do want to say their drink for tonight, they always have a drink for the course, is the Sake Champagne Mojito. A bottle of sake, a bottle of extra dry champagne, a large bunch of mint leaves, a juice of 4 limes, 6 drops of liquid stevia. Wow, what a drink. That sounds like quite the drink I would like to have on this course. Now, this is where things get a little bit spicy. They are going to hit a climb going up out of that sprint. So just as their legs are really struggling, they're going to be hitting this big drag up to the dirt section of this race course. It is very, very hard on the lungs. I have actually done this race course over the weekend myself, and this part was significantly hard. Just coming through after a sprint like that, you've got very sore legs, and then you've got to hit this draggy climb. Goes up to 5, 6, 7% as they near the dirt roads. The men are just a little bit ahead of the women on the course at the moment. They're at 18.6 kilometres. The women here at 18.1. And the climb we hit at about 21 kilometres, so not long to go. We've got some more attacks in the men's race. These will be the ones, although they're all on Trons, I thought it might be the people who might want to do a bike swap who would go ahead, but it looks like, I see size in the chat. Yes, the disc on dirt is asking for a hard ride, so that's what I'm thinking they're the bike swappers, but they're going to have to move ahead. There you are, Kate, and think these guys on the Trons, they're just attacking for the fun of it. 2 Japanese riders, 2 teammates, just making it hard on everyone else.
Yeah, I'm really interested about the thought around the bike, or whether people really haven't thought about it. And if they are riding discs to then change bikes, then that's really well thought out. If, on the other hand, they just haven't really thought about it, then that's going to bite them in the butt a little bit to do that. But look at that points-wise. The aero guys
They're taking
they're
away.
remembering.
Look at
that.
that.
This
It's
is,
just-
remembering that this is a points race. So
This is insane. It's what, 6 Aussie jerseys in the top 10? Oh wow, that's phenomenal. What have we got here? Torben Partridge Madsen, those were those sprints. So that's Sam Hill there in second, Scolari in third. Then we've got the Davola, Costa, Pacheco. This is just an Aussie wash over this whole race. Looks like Sam Hill is doing what he does best, time trialing off the front, making it very difficult for the rise ahead. Look how much this men's race has strung out. If I pan the camera across over this beautiful scenery, look at that. They have strung this out big time, and I'm not quite sure what the goal is right now of this these riders going off the front. Maybe just to neutralize any attacks on the climb and just make it as hard as they possibly can. Oh, lost audio there for Kate. See if that comes back, hopefully. It is one of those nights, I think. Looks as though there are a few more. Mark O'Brien again. I mean, I think he's coming down to my my 5K hero, just with how he's running with so much aggression. Let's have a look. We're coming up to the point that people will do a bike change. You see on the mini map there in the top right hand of the corner, this is the left hander. That's where the dirt starts. About 25 kilometers where we want to see some people. So keep an eye out for any drop in watts to 0, because that is the sign that we've got someone swapping. I don't see any of these guys doing this. There we go. Kate's back. Too late.
I apologise.
No one from that group is swapping. Let's see. This group has got a lot of discs.
There's the issue is to ride a disc, plan to swap. You have to anticipate how go. It's not enough to plan what you're going to do. You have to really anticipate what the rest of the bunch is going to do. And I think that if they did plan a bike swap, it's just not working very well, because the whole bunch is with them and they're now just going to be chasing on mass, which, given their dominance, I'm just not sure it's necessary. But, I know you and I have a slight disagreement. I'm far more conservative around this kind of thing. But it is also one thing in the women's, I think, especially if you look at the B and C's, where it's a little bit more predictable and a little bit less depth, so you can control it a bit more if you are choosing that tactic. The men's A, especially at APAC level, with all of the guys coming back from Premier League, they've got to do all they can to make it go right. Yeah. And then it's a good week versus a shocking week based on nothing except just the incredible depth there. So interesting how it plays out. And the women, do we think that there might be a change? We did have a quite en masse bike change in week 1.
I hope so. I mean, I have heard some will make a change, but like you said, I think it's really hard when you're in the group. There's just not that motivation to do it, because you're going to lose some time. If you can get even just 5 seconds off the front, and they would have had to have tried to do that on the climb after the sprint for anyone to kind of go ahead. But if you're purely going for fastest time segment, this is a smallish group of, it looks like about 15 riders. Oh, it looks like someone has dropped off. I don't actually think they've bike swapped though. We've got bike swaps. Yes, this is why I love the women's racing. It's actually going to happen.
who did it last time too, and it worked.
Oh, but they do have someone else from Raven Bees is sitting back there. We've got some slow swaps. They need to get a move on. Lucy's off. So that was great. The others, looks like they've had some real issues just sitting there in the distance, not really moving at all yet. So there we go. They're up and running. Danny, not great. Needs a little bit of extra work there. And then using a drafting power up, unfortunately at a time where she's not on anybody's draft. So Would have been better to maybe save that. I love it still. I love the effort to do it. Now, we're going to stay off the women's race because I just love a bike swap, and I want to see if Lucy, who promised me she would do one, so kudos to her. It shows she's on a disc. She is not on a disc, sometimes just from our broadcast. Look how quickly she has caught these riders. Look at that.
Yeah, that's impressive. But Lucy showed from that first sprint that she's got pretty good legs today, and maybe she knew that she needed to be pretty warmed up early on, which is why she went for that. They are starting to regroup here. I'm closely looking for Danny Padgham, because she, with the bike swap, I want to see her get back up there.
It's just so much faster. Look how much faster this is from Emily here, riding for TBR. She's just blitzing past. You can see, particularly on the parts of the course where it goes really steep, this gravel bike is just immensely fast. Like, you just see the others look like they're dragging around in the mud, and she is just hot-footed it past them. You know, it is an Elisa Lamborghini on the Paris-Roubaix course. It's just
look at that
stronger. Look at this. It's great bike setup. She's already in 5th place. 7th place, sorry. She's coming through now. I mean, she'll take this to the front. She'll take fastest time segment, probably first across line. What a decision. Now, will she have the 5K Winners Award? That's the question.
Ooh, well, you know, I think that I just want to gently urge you to give one for the men and the women. You have the power here, and this is yours. But I feel like we've had some pretty standout performances on both sides. Yeah. Well, I was thinking Bosted, but I think that you're too offended by the fact that he's riding for Aero. I'm not. I feel sorry, Mark. I feel like you may have been blacklisted. Also I might add, I dobbed you in, Anna. I promised the 5K heroes from America West that you would source some pineapple lumps for them.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Sorry, yeah, so I've dobbed you in there. We'll have to get that organised. But that's only for the 5K heroes from America West. Okay. So it's not all of them.
So it looks like Tricino there has taken that out from Mark O'Brien. I mean, he's leaning towards my rider, 5K hero, just because he's been in every move and he is attacking. But on the women's side, if we're going to go men and women, I mean, look at this. Emily G from TBR, what a legend. Out there on her gravel bike, she's in 1st place now. She was in last because she stopped and did the bike swap. She has crushed it. She is so far ahead of everyone else now. This then comes down to the question. Now, I have got a thought about what I will do tomorrow. I don't know if I will share it, but this is where you need to make a decision of what you do. She's 8 seconds ahead of Henneken from Rave, 15 seconds ahead of Corinne from AHDRL, and it is split up. So we don't have a big pack anymore. We've just got riders kind of 2s, 3s, all spread out around the road. People watching, what do you think she should do? Because I have an idea in my head about what she should do, but I'm keen to hear what other people's thoughts are, because she's got such a lead now. You know, does she swap back to the disc? That's the question, right?
Oh, I'm not sure that I'd bother, to be honest. I would take the momentum and I would keep going with it. That would be my choice. I feel like you would probably disagree with that. We seem to always come from opposite sides when it
which is great, right?
The equipment stuff. But I mean, she has got what you risk for the bike change is you risk breaking the momentum that you have. And I don't mean like physical momentum. I mean like in your legs and your physiology, and you're getting into it and you're feeling good, and you threaten to break that a little bit. In saying that, the course from the 23 odd kilometre mark, or 23 and a half it might be, not too far to the top now, it's very much downhill and then flat for the last 5.5k. So you will break a little bit of that power momentum anyway, just by the nature of going over the top. But I don't know. Well, how much, I guess this is the question, how much does the algorithm consider weight over rolling resistance because the gravel bike would be heavier. Therefore, on the downhill, it could be actually beneficial.
That's a really, really good point. And I don't know if that's well known what the algorithms there are. Looking back at the points here, Lucy Esdale still miles ahead after that third sprint with Miller, Fung, Maple. So looking here at Emily from TBR, I mean, TBR, they're already ahead with Esdale. She's going to take the fastest time segment and first across line here in this race. So TBR is looking very strong. She's very close to coming to the top. Yeah. This is the hard question, because would you change to the disc at the top? Sort of once you've gone over the climber, it flattens out, and then, you know, maybe the disc is actually as fast as a gravel bike downhill anyway. She knows everyone behind her is on the other bike. So, and also you don't want to do a bike change on a downhill because the people behind you would have so much momentum, they'll catch you very, very quickly. Although she is a very, very long way ahead now.
Well, it was Henneken, remember, who went over the top in week 1 with them, and she didn't do the bike change. So that was the difference last time, and she did go over the top, and we were like, okay, wow. You know, she's managing to, on her normal bike, keep in with this, and it's, you know, it was a great ride from her. She's going over the top now to Emily Gartland. I reckon stick to it, because... You know, my other thought about that is if the others choose to change bikes, that gives Emily Gartland like that extra 7, 8, 10 seconds on top of what she's already got. And you're not going to bring back 30 seconds based on a bike. Oh, she's changing.
She's swapping.
Right now.
Yeah.
She is just
I think this is a good decision.
Right.
And she's a quick changer. Look at that.
Oh, that was quick.
That was 4 seconds. Still a 23-second lead. Now, what do you do now? I mean, do you just take this all the way to the line? I mean, if she does, she is definitely in line for a bit of a cat upgrade, I think, after this, if she can hold 4.5 watts to the line. Do want to mention, too, as well, what we've got happening in the men's race on the left. We have Mark O'Brien, Chasino from World Elite Zwifters, and Takasugi. So 2 teammates. I mean, this is... some interesting action in the men's race. 2 teammates against an aero rider, broken away 19 seconds ahead of the chasing pack. And the chasing pack isn't a huge group, it's 4. And then 8 seconds back, you've got Mark Bosted leading a much, much larger group. So, well, not even that large, though, it looks like about 10 riders. So huge action in the men's race. Ghost Pirates been dropped here by Tabalong. 18 seconds ahead now, but only a group of 4 chasing. I mean, this is pretty good stuff.
Yeah, this is serious business. So Ed Morgan's kind of looked like he was stuck in the middle for a little while. He is now back with that group. Aikita and Tabalong and Rogerio Costa. They are a few seconds ahead of the rest of that chasing bunch, but again, they're fairly strung out in that regard. Now, if you just take a look at the powers from the top 10 in the race at the moment. The top 6 are all over 4.9 watts per kg average so far. Wow. You've got Mark O'Brien's up at 5.4, Tabalong at 5.3. I mean, this is just pretty full on. This is solid racing. This is the kind of racing that if it wasn't A's, would get them booted up to the next category, and they'd be losing the points. And that's an interesting one on the women's side, is that if we do see Emily Gartland moved up, she doesn't get the points for this week. And there's also no A's in the APAC, and I reckon that would leave her a little bit grumpy and possibly with nowhere to race. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Isn't it?
She might just, you know what I would do in her position, Anna? Oh. I'd eat a couple of pavlovas, I'd put on a kilo or 2, it's like win-win, right? You drop that power and you get the enjoyment out of it and you get to stay in the race. I mean, that's probably indicative that I'm retired, that I would say something like that. And people are probably very offended. They're like, what?
That's great. Next
Exactly,
sprint coming up in 30 at 32.4k, but looking at those kilometers, I'm ticking it over.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm picking it.
Okay.
I'm going to go men and women, and I think it's easy to see because I've got them up on screen. We're going to have Mark O'Brien for the men, 5k to go hero, and Emily here for the women for the 5k to go hero. Bike swap is always going to be a favourite of mine, and Mark O'Brien just attacking every single bit of tarmac possible, and has got a nice little breakaway going. He's tried to make the breakaway stick, it finally has. That's it. I've picked those 5k to go heroes. Do you agree with those, Katie?
Yep.
Good.
I do. I think they're good. I think they're good picks, and I think we also have to maybe have a rule that our 5k to go hero can't get it, 2 weeks in a row, and
Okay.
that rule is specifically designed for Mark O'Brien. I have to say, because. But I love his style of racing. Like every week, regardless of anything, he always gives it a really good crack. Saw that 2 seasons ago before they got upgraded to Prem. It was like, oh, O'Brien's here tonight. Okay, well, we know, what's going to happen. And he's at it again. It's a really good style of racing. So I like that. But I'm loving that Emily Gartland is so comfortable in her dominance that she changed the bike you're right, it was like 4 to 5 seconds. You got down to 7, didn't you? Do you reckon you can get down to 4 or 5 seconds by tomorrow?
There was a bit of chat. I think some people can get it down so well because they're actually using macros, so they get what's called a stream deck, and that sounds really bad in a New Zealand accent, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I just realised that myself. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. You build in a macro where basically you just push the buttons all into just one button. So you just push that one button and it's kind of bike swap. That can get you down to about 3 seconds. So that could be what Emily's done here to make that pretty quick. She's still got 15 seconds on the others. The men are approaching the next sprint. So we'll head over and have a look at our 5k hero for the men, Mark O'Brien. See if he can take this out. I mean, this is the benefit of potentially doing a bike swap and staying away, is that you'll then mop up the first across line points in this last sprint, which is so close to the finish line. These men, though, I'm loving the fact I'm seeing so many more breakaways in this racing, because it just makes it so much more interesting than everyone going to the line. They're getting chased by a big group, though, but still 20 seconds behind, sorry.
Yeah, and the gap is closing down a little bit because it was at around the 28-second mark, but they're coming so close to the finish that I just can't see that coming down, to be honest. It will be important for these guys to get these sprint points. They hit the line right now because it is points race. It's not about who wins at the end, which, so there's no need to save it. Mark O'Brien is very clearly going for those points. He's accelerating who's surprised? Not me.
Wow. This guy's just dominating everything. I mean, I'll pull up the segment points. I mean, he must be somewhere pretty crazy on the top of those points for this men's race. The Aero team has done a great job, I've got to say. Still looks like Torben Partridge-Madsen on the top. So he must be going for some what I call the sneaky points, which is the fastest time segment, where you may not see them crossing the line first, but they've just done it really fast. Mark O'Brien's sitting there in 6. They wouldn't have counted that last sprint yet, but still doing pretty well there. Torben Partridge-Madsen, though, it shows how important those first 3 sprints are. So we had those first sprints at 0.7k, 3.9k, and then another one at 17k. He looks like he kind of took out all those fastest time segments almost, and has just mopped up a lot of points for his team.
Well, I love that because that was clearly their tactic at the beginning. Marco, go rip everybody's legs off. Torben, you got the points early on. And he did kind of have that attack, if we recall, into that second sprint and took it quite easily and put a lot of pressure on there. So not only giving him the first across the line, but mopping up those fastest through, which is just extra bonus points on top of it, isn't it? So the gap has come down significantly now to 14 seconds. Will it be enough? I'm not sure that it will be. Will it even matter? I'm also not sure that it will. But there is no denying that there is still a lot of like kudos and credential and good feelings, good vibes for being the first across the line, even though it's a points race, even though you may not actually on paper win the race. There is a good feeling about crossing the line first. You know, I do think that is quite important for a number of riders. So they don't have too far to go. And over in the women, Emily Gartland still has a solid 17-second lead, a bit of a chase bunch behind her.
We will go
3 to 5
back.
riders kind of very close. But we've just, it's not a too dissimilar happening in the men. It's just that they have a bigger group with 3 of them instead of just Gartland on their own.
2 teammates, so they're just about to finish. They're going to round this left-hander. They've got about 600 metres to go. 2 teammates versus Mark O'Brien. How do you play this? I mean, what are these the World Elite Zwifters teams in the blue do with making this a bit more of a team game? I thought one of them should go early, should just go now and draw out the attack early from Mark O'Brien.
That's what I would think. I would definitely think actually to back off a little bit. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan, Anna, of dropping back even, 2 or 3 meters, not out of the draft, but enough, and then going whack, because then when you even hit their wheel, you're at full speed. Early move from Takasugi, but he hasn't opened any kind of gap at all. Tracino trying to take it on, but Marco,
we're going to have to see
O'Brien a little bit too late, I think.
Photo finish there from Mark O'Brien. And the chase team came back very, very quickly. Couldn't even see who came in after that group. That was an amazing finish from the men. I will take us back over to the women. We still have Emily well out in front. Well out. So 15 seconds ahead of a group of 5 riders, I think. So she'll be approaching that last sprint at the 30... What are we looking at? 32.4k. They should be hitting that last sprint, and then she'll be taking her solo way to the finish line. I just don't think so. This crew behind, I always would want to kind of be in this spot a little bit, is where you've got a teammate broken away, you're in the chase pack, and you can kind of just get a free ride. You're not doing any work, and you're not expected to do any work.
That is absolutely correct. I mean, that is the absolute value of a good team tactic. We saw it with the Trek ladies at Roubaix. We're seeing it here tonight as well. It's one of the age-old ones. I think, to go back to the men for just a second, I think Mark O'Brien mistimed that. I don't think he realised quite how quick that was, because he came off the wheel and started accelerating, and all of a sudden it was there. I tend to think that might have been a mistiming from him, but good riding from the World Elite Zwifters. And as I was kind of saying when that came upon us so quickly, Anna, I do think, and the same goes in the women's for the minor placings, is that if you are going to have a sprint in this kind of group, and you're not really confident of being the fastest sprinter, where no matter what anybody does, you'll be able to ride your own sprint and still have very few come over the top of you, it is very beneficial to, by the time you even get to their back wheel, that you're accelerating so fast that it's kind of a bit too late for them to jump. That's the best way to sprint, I think, in any scenario, if you're not a sprinter, if you're not really biding your time and waiting. And we have seen a lot of the sprinters actually develop pretty well. I mean, you're one of them, Anna. I believe that a few seasons ago you weren't much of a sprinter, but now you've actually got a bit of speed in those legs.
Well, I mean, it's just fun, right? I mean, I'm a triathlete. I'm used to 180 kilometre time trials where there is no speed needed in the legs whatsoever. But it's been a bit of fun. At the moment, I'm doing a whole lot of workouts to work on my 1 minute power, which has been quite fun as well. Quite hard workouts, I've got to say.
And by fun you mean vomit inducing, because that's normally what 1 minute efforts do.
Exactly. Georgia here actually coming through. These guys look like they are catching up quite a bit. 9 seconds now on Emily. So Georgia coming through there. Looks like she could have been just passed by Lucy. Is Lucy going to roll over and then catch up to her teammate? That'd be great. Emily's back up to over 5 watts. She's getting nervous. Look, you can see her just in the distance. If we go up to Emily, shoot around the camera, you're just there. So Emily may get past her at the end. She has to be a bit careful.
She does need to be a little bit careful, and I'm also wondering what Lucy is going to do here. Is she just going to sit on Georgia and, say, well, you can drag me up? Was it going through that sprint that did bring them that little bit closer, or are they kind of trying to chase in earnest? So Georgia Miller, it is, that is with Lucy Isdale. And they're both pretty solid, 15-second riders. They're similar kind of style, but now the four of them are coming back together. Henneken, we saw her brilliance in the first weekend. Emma Falez from Tune Bike Works there as well. Will these four ride together? Is Henneken and Falez just catching their breath and catching their legs? Because back out to 14 seconds for Emily Gartland.
Yeah, Emily just put in a few little shocks there at sort of around 5 watts a kg, so she is definitely riding. She's aiming for that ACAT bump, that's for sure. So she's looking pretty good. But this group behind is kind of who I'm interested in. Now, Emily, I think we'd probably be safe to say she's got a kilometre to go. I think we'll be safe to say that she's going to take this one out. I'm interested to see who's going to get there in the chase, because you've got a few good sprinters. Lucy, the battle between Lucy and Georgia. So Lucy from TBR and Georgia from AHDRL is the one I'm looking at, because those teams are tied at the top of the table, and every single point counts. Emily's sitting here for TBR, looking really good, but we've seen it before. You've got to have your whole team doing well. So Lucy coming in for second would be pretty phenomenal.
And Lucy's been great from that first sprint, as we said. She won that quite convincingly and quite easily. There's a few names that we would have normally thought that we'd see. Hesa Semenko up there. Corinne Dolan is the other one that we perhaps thought we might see up there. But this is a bit of a different course than it has been in the other week, with the bike changes, with the points racing, the on and off. It is quite different to what we saw on week one. And I love that we're seeing an emergence of new talent. Now, particularly important, I think, for Lucy Isdale to try and get these points is if Emily Gartland is in fact bumped up a category from this, she'll lose her points from this one. And so TBR really need to be looking at that. But in fact, Emily Gartland needs to be looking at that and maybe backing off a little bit to still take the win, but be able to maintain those points, which, by the way, she's not doing. She just got out of her seat for a big sprint, even though she's got this fairly convincingly.
Oh, and this is a nice look at Lucy. I knew she'd just be good at sprinting. And who's on her tail? Georgia. But I think Lucy has taken this away. Oh, has she though? Henneken coming in very quick. Oh, that was a great finish. But Lucy, she did that very well. I thought she might have taken it out. She's a very good sprinter. I do just want to show, because I was really interested in your timing comments about Mark O'Brien, Katie. So I wouldn't mind you talking me through the sprint that we saw in the men's race just before, because I'd be really intrigued to know where you think Mark kind of just got it wrong.
Well, we're looking at Takasugi, and it was Takasugi and Trissino. Takasugi was the first to go, and when Trissino went over the top, Mark O'Brien, he only gets out of his seat here, but he sits back down. Trissino goes, look at where Mark O'Brien is. It's like he doesn't even realise, and then all of a sudden he moves on the back of Trissino. See, I just think that he was, to me, I think that when Takasugi was moving and Mark O'Brien was just sitting really comfy, as though he didn't quite realise the timing on it. I mean, really well done from the World Elite Zwifters to time that so well, and Trissino only jumped so late, because that's also really good timing from them. But I do think that sometimes on these kinds of courses, it's hard to get your timing right because they're not the ones that you tend to ride that often.
Exactly.
So it's not overly familiar, and you often don't, like, everybody in Central Park now has a landmark for sprints.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy to do all the time, but I think every course on Macquarie Islands is still, people are still getting there with familiarity. But Mark O'Brien well and truly made everybody suffer, which I think is, you know, what he's known for, at least with us. I don't know what he's known for from other people, but that's what we know him for.
Yeah, no, I'd say, yeah, he's just known to me as a bit of an attacker, I have to say. He just tends to, I saw in this race, that's why I wanted to give him the 5K hero. He just attacked absolutely every bit of ground that he possibly could. Do just want to have a quick look at the women's race for second place, because I always like Lucy. She always sends me a good message on a Tuesday, so we'll see her come in. I barely got to see who was coming in second and third there. I'm almost sure it was Henneken there from Rave. This is Emily finishing in her first place. Hopefully she'll get to stay in the Bs, but not sure after that performance. And there we go with Lucy. She opened up quite early, took it from the back all the way to the front with a huge pop. Massive gap straight away. Looks like Henneken and Georgia fought it out. Henneken managed to keep it right to the line. And I have seen that our results have come in too, so we can head straight over to those.
Ooh, excellent. Let's take a look at those. This is turning into a very interesting season. So we'll take a look at the results when they pop up. Next week, of course, they're heading to Libby Hill, so no rest for the wicked. They've got a couple of, it's another points race with 5 laps with a Libby Hill finish. So let's take a look at the men. I know. Finally, of course, you don't like Anna. So this is a great ride from the World Elite Zwifters here, and Mark O'Brien sitting in second. Takasugi, he came in third. For the men, it was Trissino who took the win. James Harvey in fourth. Josh Haggerty, he showed some pretty quick legs, I must say, in a couple of those sprints, early ones from NZ Bro Frodo, although he's the only one in the top 10 this week, so bit of a, can we call it an off week from that team? I don't know. Definitely. Fabian Davola, great to have him back from Prem League for Deepak. He was in sixth. Mark Bosted in seventh. For Aero, he rides for Aero, Anna, the Aussie team. Not sure if you realise that. We've got Staccato, Akeda from World Elite Zwifters, and Rogerio Costa from World Elite Zwifters. Now, they have had a brilliant week because they have had 4 in the top 10. Nick Squalari, our time trial specialist, sitting in 10th there, and only 10 seconds between that top 10 in the end. So the gap did come down very significantly from where Harvey was to that break of 3.
Yeah, that was. They did some big early sprinting, I think, to catch on. See if we can get the women's results also coming in. Oh, there we go. And we've got from the BCAT woman, we saw Emily Gartland take it out. Watts per kg there, so she's at a bit of risk of promotion, or risk or reward, I guess. Lucy Esdale from TBR Smile on B, 10 seconds back with that monster sprint. Claudia Marie Henneken in third from Raven Bees. Then AHDRL, so like we saw with NZ Bro, a bit of an off week. I'd say AHDRL, not a great week for them either. They have a rider there in fourth with Georgia Miller. Emma Feliz in fifth, Chicks and Nicks, one of my favourite team names. Sarah Alexander from Raven Bees. Corinne Dolan from AHDRL Bullets. Sharon Boyd from the Raven Bees. And then Melissa Fung and Kylie Adair, also from AHDRL Bullets.
So another great week of racing. So next week, Anna, they are heading to the Libby Hill after party, 5 laps. Yeah. So that'll be a little bit of fun for them. And it will be interesting. Head to WTRL.racing to check out all of the results and the league standings, because after that scratch race, the team's time trial and now the points race, I think the only name that we've said on repeat is probably Mark O'Brien. But across the other ones, we've actually had some new riders, and I'm interested to see with Emily Gartland whether there is a promotion on the card. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front.
Yeah, exactly. It was some good racing though. I've got to say, I was talking to a colleague of yours today, someone who rides mostly on the road, Gracie Elvin, and I was saying, could esport ever get to the point of what we see in real life racing, with the real team dynamics, the real sort of breakaways going, teams sort of mucking up the chase, and I think we're starting to see a bit of that happening. I mean, you saw it with the Aussie team and the Esport World Champs. It was definite team dynamics, probably in no small part to their great DS. And then you also had the racing tonight. I mean, that men's race, they could have stuck together as a big blob the whole way and just gone sprint points, but no, there was a lot of breaks, and women solo victory as well. So yeah, I think esport, there's a bit more of that excitement coming in.
Yeah, I think so too. I think give it a couple of years and it'll be very serious business with some serious money involved and teams, and I'm excited for that. We're like at the forefront of it. Foundation level, Anna.
We're pioneers.
Getting into it. I know. It will be talked about for generations to come, as will Mark O'Brien, no doubt. Well, Anna, good luck tomorrow. Between now and then, download that macro thing. I'm not a tech person. I don't really know what that means, but it seems like that's what you need. Yeah. And good luck. Good luck. I'm on with Dave Toll for America West at the other bookmark of the community, so we will always be downloading your race and seeing what happened. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and joined on socials, and for contributing your tips to the 5K Hero. You're helping Anna very much with that one.
See you next time.
See you next time.